My name is Erica Salazar, and I used to believe the justice system would protect the truth. I used to believe that if you were a good mother, people would see it. That love would be enough. That the courts would look at who raised the child, not just who had more money or who had a better lawyer. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. But I was wrong. When my ex-husband Daniel took me to court for full custody of our daughter Sophia, I walked into that courtroom thinking I was about to defend my parenting. I didn't know I was about to be erased. Daniel wasn't always like this. When we met, he was charming and kind. A real estate developer with a dazzling smile and a confident swagger. I was working as a dental assistant, just starting my life after years of helping my mother care for my younger siblings. He made me feel seen. He said he admired how I took care of people. He promised he'd always take care of me too. We were married within a year. But the man I married, he changed the moment I became a mother. Sophia was born on a rainy Wednesday night. I still remember the way Daniel barely looked up from his phone as I screamed through contractions. He held her for maybe 3 minutes before handing her off to the nurse. "She looks like you," he said flatly, then walked out to take a call. I remember watching his back disappear through the doorway, cradling our daughter and wondering what I'd just committed myself to. Over the years, Daniel drifted in and out of parenting. He worked late, traveled often, and when he was home, he acted like Sophia was an inconvenience. He'd buy her expensive toys she never asked for, then roll his eyes when she cried because she wanted me to tuck her in instead. When I finally filed for divorce, Sophia was 5. I had hoped we could settle things peacefully. I wasn't asking for alimony. I wasn't trying to punish him. All I wanted was to stay in the apartment I rented, keep my job, and raise my daughter in peace. But Daniel wasn't interested in peace. He wanted revenge. First, it was little things. Delayed child support payments. Passive-aggressive texts about Sophia being too emotional and needing structure. Then one weekend he sent her home in tears. She told me that his new girlfriend Rachel had called me unstable. That I used Sophia as a weapon. I asked Daniel to keep the adults' issues between us. He responded by filing for full custody. He claimed I was erratic. That I left Sophia home alone. That I forgot to feed her. That I yelled and cried in front of her. All of it was lies. But he had something I didn't. Rachel's support and a new nanny. The court date was set. Daniel's lawyer, a cold-eyed man named Griffin Palmer, painted me as a danger to my own daughter. He spoke calmly, methodically, pulling examples from Daniel's documentation. A missed parent-teacher conference. A voicemail where I sounded frustrated. A picture Sophia drew where I was frowning. Then Rachel took the stand. She told the court I had screamed at Sophia in a parking lot. That Sophia had nightmares when she returned from my house. That she once had to call Sophia's school to warn them I might try to abduct her. I sat there breathless as this woman, who had entered my daughter's life only a few months earlier, told strangers that I was a danger to her. But it was the next witness who truly buried me. Her name was Natalie. Early 20s. Nanny. Daniel hired her after Rachel moved in, and she quickly became part of their image. The happy new family. She smiled politely on the stand and looked at me like I was a lost cause. She said she had seen Sophia tremble when it was time to go back to my apartment. She said I never packed clean clothes. That Sophia once told her she was afraid to speak around me. She said she once overheard Sophia begging me on the phone not to yell anymore. I couldn't breathe. My own daughter was too young to take the stand, but the court appointed a child advocate who reported that Sophia had expressed anxiety about being at my home. It was enough. The judge awarded Daniel primary custody. I would see my daughter every other weekend. The silence in my apartment after that ruling felt like a death. I walked into Sophia's room that night and sat on her bed, surrounded by her stuffed animals, her books, her tiny socks still in the laundry bin. I ran my hand along the edge of her pillow and sobbed until I thought my lungs would collapse. But something didn't sit right. I knew my daughter. I knew her expressions, her body language, her quiet bravery. And something about Natalie's testimony was too rehearsed. A week after the ruling, my neighbor, Mr. Whitaker, knocked on my door. He was in his 70s, lived alone, and kept to himself. We mostly exchanged hellos. But today he looked troubled. "Miss Erica," he said, "I saw some people arguing in front of your building a while back. Loud voices. A man yelling at a kid. A young woman pulled her away. He said it happened on a weekend Daniel had Sophia. And he had it on video. I've got one of those smart cameras on my window," he said. "For the porch packages. It catches everything." When I saw the footage, I felt like the universe had cracked open. There was Sophia, standing frozen on the sidewalk while Daniel towered over her, shouting. Natalie tried to pull her back toward the car, but Sophia was sobbing, resisting. Then, clear as day, Rachel stepped out and yelled, "She's not your problem, Natalie. Just say what you have to say in court and let's get this over with." Natalie looked around, saw no one else nearby, then muttered, "I hate this. I didn't sign up to lie." Rachel snapped, "You signed the NDA. You want your check, don't you?" Natalie said nothing. I asked Mr. Whitaker if I could have the footage. He nodded, placed it on a pen drive and said simply, "Go get your daughter." I didn't sleep the night I got the footage. I stared at the pen drive in my hand as if it were a grenade, something that could either destroy everything or blow open the door that had been slammed in my face. The image of Sophia crying on the sidewalk played over and over in my mind. That wasn't the girl they described in court. That wasn't a child afraid of her mother. That was my daughter, scared, confused, and trapped between people who were supposed to protect her. I made an appointment with my lawyer first thing in the morning. Her name was Dana Mendez. Sharp as a blade but warm. She had taken my case pro bono after I walked into her office with my heart in my hands and nothing but a manila folder of visitation schedules. I expected her to be skeptical, jaded. But when she saw the footage, her expression shifted. "Did you have this during the hearing?" "No. I just got it yesterday." "My neighbor." Dana nodded. "This is gold. You have no idea what you've just handed me." The footage had date stamps, audio, clear visuals. It wasn't just evidence of Daniel being aggressive. It was proof that Natalie's testimony had been manipulated, that she was coerced, that Rachel orchestrated the entire narrative that destroyed me in court. Dana filed for an emergency hearing to revisit the custody agreement, submitting the footage as new evidence. The court granted it, reluctantly. It would be a short session, no more than a few hours, but I'd have a chance to be heard again. The hearing was scheduled for Thursday morning. I barely ate for 3 days. When I arrived at the courthouse, I brought nothing but my handbag and the pen drive. Daniel was already inside, standing tall and smug in a slate gray suit. Rachel sat beside him, cool and unbothered, wearing pearls and flipping through her phone like it was brunch. Natalie wasn't in the room. Dana whispered, "Let's see if they expect what we're about to show." We sat across from Judge Barron, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and no patience for drama. Dana spoke first. She introduced the new evidence and explained the context. The judge looked skeptical. "Is this the same neighbor who wasn't mentioned during the original trial?" "Yes, Your Honor. We didn't know he had a smart camera installed at the time. We only discovered the footage days ago." Daniel's lawyer stood. "This is inadmissible. The individuals recorded were not aware they were being filmed." Dana didn't flinch. "The camera is on private property and records the public sidewalk. Perfectly legal under local ordinance." The judge paused. Then he motioned to the clerk. "Let's see it." The courtroom dimmed as the footage played on the mounted screen. It was silent for the first 10 seconds. Then came the voices. Clear. Dark. Daniel's voice. "Get in the car, Sophia. Stop crying. This is ridiculous." Sophia's whimpering. Rachel's bark. "Just say what you have to say in court and let's get this over with." Natalie's hesitant voice. "I hate this. I didn't sign up to lie." Rachel's chilling reply. You signed the NDA. You want your check, don't you? And silence again. The courtroom stayed still for a long moment. The judge blinked. Daniel shifted in his chair. Rachel stopped looking at her phone. Dana rose slowly. Your Honor, this directly contradicts the sworn testimony provided by Miss Natalie Carter. It also suggests that the testimony of Miss Rachel Morris may have been coerced, coordinated, or compensated in exchange for false or misleading information. Daniel's lawyer tried to object, tried to argue chain of custody, tried to call it circumstantial. But the damage was done. The judge turned to Daniel. Mr. Salazar, is there a reason this recording should be dismissed as fabrication? Daniel opened his mouth, closed it. The judge ordered a recess and summoned Natalie to appear that afternoon for questioning under oath. I walked out of that courtroom shaking. I sat on a bench in the hallway and put my face in my hands. I didn't cry, breathe. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel powerless. I felt the shift, like the wind had turned in my favor. Dana sat beside me and said softly, "Now we wait." Natalie arrived just after 3 p.m. She walked in alone. No lawyer. No sunglasses. Just a denim jacket and the look of someone who hadn't slept in days. The judge called her to the stand, swore her in. Dana asked one question. Miss Carter, did you lie under oath in your prior testimony regarding Erica Salazar's parenting of her daughter? Natalie's lips trembled. Yes, she whispered. Rachel jolted upright. Daniel muttered something under his breath. The courtroom buzzed. Natalie continued, voice cracking. I didn't want to. But Rachel said if I didn't say what she told me to say, I'd lose my job. That she'd sue me for violating the non-disclosure agreement. I didn't know what to do. Dana asked no further questions. The judge asked her one. Do you believe Sophia is safe with her mother? Natalie nodded, tears in her eyes. Absolutely. She's always happiest after seeing her mom. Always. The court reconvened after a brief recess. The judge's ruling was swift. Given the new evidence and the witness recantation of sworn testimony, this court reverses the prior custody arrangement. Effective immediately, primary custody is granted to the child's mother, Erica Salazar. Visitation privileges for the father will be reviewed at a future hearing. I didn't hear the rest. I only heard Sophia's name. I only heard, effective immediately. And the pounding in my chest as I turned to look at Daniel. Stone-faced, lips pursed. His whole plan crumbling in front of him. Rachel stood frozen. Natalie wept softly. And I walked out of that courthouse with the pendrive still in my bag, and the world under my feet. The first thing I did after leaving the courthouse was call my mother. I didn't say a word at first, just breathed into the phone while the street noise swirled around me like static. Erica, she said. What happened? She's coming home, I whispered. My mother cried so hard she couldn't speak. The court gave me 3 days to make arrangements. Daniel, now stripped of his control, tried to delay the transfer by filing a motion to reconsider. It was denied. The judge had seen enough. His manipulation was exposed. His house of lies cracked wide open by a single piece of footage and the courage of a girl he tried to control with silence and fear. When I picked Sophia up, she ran into my arms like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. I knew you'd fix it, Mommy, she said. I told my bear you would. But this wasn't over. Not for me. Not for her. Not for the people who thought they could rewrite our story. Daniel and Rachel weren't done scheming. 2 weeks after Sophia came back to me, I received a notice. Daniel was suing me for emotional distress, claiming the footage had been obtained illegally and had cost him irreparable damage to reputation and business. His business. A small commercial real estate firm that catered to wealthy investors. Apparently, a few of them had seen the footage too. Dana met with me the next day. We can countersue, she said calmly. You have grounds for defamation, legal harassment, and potential fraud depending on how far we dig into his prior custody claims. But that's not even the important part. She slid a folder across the table. I had someone look into the NDA Rachel made Natalie sign. Inside was a photocopy of a fake contract. No signature. No witness line. Just a typed name and vague language about privacy expectations. It was legally meaningless. Dana looked me dead in the eyes. They were bluffing. Manipulating her with threats and lies. The legal suit was tossed out by the judge within 2 hearings. Not only was Daniel's emotional distress claim rejected, but the court sanctioned him for misuse of judicial resources. His reputation as a stable businessman took a serious hit. More importantly, he lost his visitation rights. Indefinitely. Rachel disappeared. She never showed up to any of the follow-up hearings. Later, I found out from Natalie that she had packed a suitcase and flown to Florida the same week the footage surfaced. She had built her life on Daniel's success, and when the cracks showed, she vanished. I didn't waste time wondering where she was. I had better things to do. I enrolled Sophia in a new school. One with a small classroom and a kind teacher who asked her what books she liked instead of handing her a checklist. She made 2 friends her first week. She started laughing more. Her drawings changed, from storm clouds and crying faces to little stick figures of me and her in a park, holding balloons. One night she crawled into bed next to me and asked, "Do I have to go to Daddy's anymore?" "No," I said softly. "Not unless you want to." She shook her head, buried her face in my shoulder and said, "Good." Natalie and I spoke again, just once. She called me timid and tearful, apologizing for everything. She said she couldn't live with herself after what she did. That she never wanted to lie, but she had bills to pay and Rachel had made it sound like I was unstable. She admitted they'd rehearsed the testimony. I listened. And then I said the one thing I never expected to. "I forgive you." A sob. Hung up. 6 months later, Dana nominated me to speak at a legal conference. The theme was everyday evidence. How ordinary people change the courtroom. I stood on stage with the pen drive in my hand. "This," I said, "is what saved me. Not money. Not status. Not connections. A camera on an old man's window. A sliver of truth caught in silence." The room applauded. But the real moment happened after. A young mother approached me in the hallway. Eyes swollen. Shoulders hunched. "I'm going through something similar," she whispered. "Everyone's against me. They say I don't have a chance." I looked at her. Really looked at her. And then I said, "Do you have the truth?" She nodded. "Then don't give up. Not for a second. Some people think justice is a loud hammer, a gavel slamming down and making things right. But sometimes, justice is quiet. It's a whisper on a recording. A flicker of movement in a camera frame. A little girl running into her mother's arms and knowing she's safe. I am Erica Salazar. And I fought for my daughter with nothing but the truth. And a pen drive. And I won. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.